Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of VAFA Tragics. We're back for another week before another bye in football, though there is the under-19 rep game next week. We're looking forward to that and let's hope the VAFA can get one over the country after the country have given us a touch-up in the last couple of years. We'll talk about that later on in the show as we welcome the panel. Good evening to you, Nick Armistead.
Evening, Andrew. Great to be here.
And Brenton Mann, good to have you back.
Yeah, good to be here, Andrew.
Different version of the puffer jacket tonight, I noticed. And Nick, you've just gone with the same white shirt we've seen for the last 11 weeks. On to the review of the round, and we'll kick it off with the performance plays of the week, as we always do. Nick, whose performance did you like the best in what was another round of great upsets?
Unbelievable round in every section of the VAFA this weekend, but I've gone down to Division 3, Hawthorn Amateur Football Club. Steve Wintle, they're up by a goal. They've been trailing in the fourth quarter, Hawthorn, to Swinburne. They're up by a goal, they've kicked it forward at the top of the square, and he has pulled down this absolute screamer, reminiscent of Adam Uze a few years ago. So Steve Wintle gets my performance player of the week, and he probably has to roll the dice on Thursday night.
Oh, always the way. I like seeing this, how clubs are going with, that's a fine, etc. when they get mentioned on the Tragic. So we'll just keep dropping more and more names. Look out. Brenton, who was your performance player of the week?
I'll go for Adam Patterson / Old Parade for their 71-point win over Theory, and Patterson bagged 4. Takes his tally to 22 for the year, and he's flying. 2
in a row for Paradians as well, so big results for them. Maybe they can avoid the drop potentially in that section after winning a flag last year. My performance player of the week, no surprise here. I'll carry the surprise as a result of the round, or the result of the round for mine. And Ben Smithwick in the centre of the ground, just a dominant performer right throughout, and really got the Panthers going as they hung on to beat St Kevin's by 3 points not at TH King, at the college.
At the college, yeah. St Kevin's taking it back there. They don't have a great record there, St Kevin's, so they'll be very disappointed.
It is interesting. We'll start our William Buck Premier review with that game. Old Carey getting their first win of the season over Scobbers. As you mentioned, Nick, they've played at the college last couple of years and been beaten on a couple, at least the last 3 years, I reckon, almost at the college since they've had games there with their foundation day and players there. But the Panthers got off to a great start. And we talk about moments to win games, guys, and I'm going to show you 2 here. Obviously, with Old Kerry getting their first win the year, you can see the scenes of the players celebrating at the final siren, hanging on to win by 3 points, magnificent stuff. But it's these 2 moments that I think win the day. There's the tackle of Jeremy Cater on Charlie Ring as he sort of waltzes or strolls casually in towards goal. And I don't want to be too harsh on Charlie, because good family, the Ring family at St Kevin's, and Charlie, of course, the premiership player there last year. But perhaps just a bit nonchalant about the way he walked into this one. And Jeremy Cater lunges and drags him to the ground. Brilliant stuff.
It was a ripper tackle, and I think Mr. Ring will like his time over again. You think so?
You certainly would. Now, that was only in the first quarter, so you probably don't attribute that to the reason that they won the game, albeit there was a 3-point margin. But how's this for a goal? So you've got young Joel Rice, not so young anymore. He kicked 3 for the day. He's lining up from about 45, and those hamstrings, not sure he's going to get the journey from here. But he has a shot, and it falls just short of the line. Hand passes fed out, and hard up against the boundary line, Cam Wallace weaves around one, has the audacity to have a bounce, and then slots it on the right foot. And that gives Old Kerry an 8 or 9 point lead with about 5 minutes to go. Unbelievable goal.
Jubilant scenes.
They were jubilant, and it was Jay Gresham-esque from last couple of weeks ago in the AFL. Clutch goal. He's got ice running through his veins, that man.
With that result, I think St Kevin's chances of making finals are gone, and we'll review that later on in the big questions as well, where their season is at. But disappointing result for Scobbers, and Old Kerry onwards and upwards. Nick, you had a look at Uni Blues, Uni Black, against De La Salle in hideous conditions at the Uni Oval. We've got to do something about the Uni main oval in winter.
We do. Unfortunately, there's never a break there. They've got the Blues there, they've got the Blacks there, they've got the women's football there, so it does get chopped up a fair bit. It doesn't smell fantastic, but they definitely got the 26-point win against De La Salle, knocked De La Salle from 3rd to 1st. It was extremely low scoring, as both sides did try to acclimatise to those muddy conditions. With just 8 goals kicked for the match. Bede Mann, Charlie Richardson led from the front for the Blacks, with their ability to drive the ball forward in those conditions instrumental to the Blacks' win. The difference for me was the transition from defence. The Blacks constantly had a link man between halfback and the wing and didn't find themselves under nearly as much pressure when they were transitioning forward. And while Sam and Jake Williams were constantly repelling from defence as they've done all year for De La Salle, the targets simply weren't there, as De La Salle were missing Indovino still, Haslam was out, and Vickers, who would generally play that link man role, he was out as well, and they really missed him. And as it stands, the Blacks moved to second. As I said, De La dropped to third on the back of 2 losses.
Yeah, it's interesting what we've seen with D-La, that when teams have reached the top, Old Trinity and D-La Salle both drop back in a couple of weeks after having that outright top position.
Interesting to see how the Blues go this week.
It will be. Well, they've got a week off, so they'll be all right. Speaking of Old Trinity, they got back to winning ways with their first win since round 6, beating Collegians at the Daily Oval. B. Yetzi might be in line for 3 votes when Woodrow medals read out. The votes are read out later in the season. The Tees did well to get an important win that just gives that little bit of gap for them in the top 4.
Good return to form after no win since round 6. And Brendan Yetzi, can he be a little bit of a difference going into September?
Huge difference,
Yep.
huge importance, just this spiritual leadership as well out on the ground.
Especially with Old Zavarian's form at the moment, that win was probably the most important win they've had this season.
Zabs are an interesting one.
Yeah.
I haven't felt comfortable about getting behind Zabs, but they just keep on keeping on, and they had another good win against OMs. Old Melburnians unable to kick a goal in the second half of proceedings there against Zabs at Sports Cabaret. OMs lucky they'd be happy to have the wins that they've got in the bank so far. Because they've unravelled a bit in the last couple of weeks.
You're uncomfortable at Zabs. I'm uncomfortable at OMs. I can't. They're week to week. They're so inconsistent. You can't pick them. Will they drop out? I'm not too. They're not in, so they can't drop out. So
They dropped out.
But they're making their finals chances all that much harder, aren't they?
Defensively, the Zavs really tailed him up though. That's where it was. Nick Wynn was at his dominant best again. They were missing Tim Diner. Unfortunately, he was away, but Skeen stepped in and he did his job. So it'll be interesting to see when Diner comes back and Brendan Goss was also away. When they come back, who are the unlucky 2 who make way?
Chopper Hanley, talk to me about this kick, Nick, that he goes with here.
Yeah, he's lining up from about 30 out here, as you can see. and we know Chopper can punt the pigskin, and he's punted the air out of it. He's blown it, and as you can see, the umpire has to change the ball here. They got a crispy new peel, so it was all well and good, but that's how hard Chopper Hanley can kick the ball.
Standard, the bladder was hanging out, the seams ripped, and it was
Just all air out.
The other game of interest was St Bernard's and Uni Blues, and the Snow Dogs really, if they were maybe a chance, and I still reckon they are a chance to avoid relegation, mind you, they probably had to win this one with Blues with so many players out of the side. No Mugovan, no Rippon in this side.
Tommy Silvestro still at Richmond VFL.
Exactly, a lot of players out of the Blues side, but their depth was tested and they prevailed in the end in what was an agitated game at times out at the Snake Pit.
Yeah, as you said, it was agitated. But as you said, the Snow Dogs would be a bit disappointed because with St Kevin's obviously losing that game unexpectedly to Old Carey, it would have been a chance to come within 2 games and really give themselves a red-hot crack in this latter half of the season. So it'll be interesting to see how that all pans out.
Yeah, we'll certainly be taking note of that over the coming weeks of the year after the bye. It really starts to unravel. We'll come back to that in the 4 questions later on as well, right after we take this quick break.
Anytime is the right time to get fit at Anytime Fitness. Access over 400 gyms across the country 24/7 and discover why more Australians train at Anytime Fitness than any other gym. Go online and register now for your free 7-day pass and feel something better.
Welcome back to the Tragics. It's time now for the headlines from the VAFA. Here's Nick Armistead.
Thank you, Andrew. The under-19 Big V representative side will take on the AFL Vic Country this weekend at 11:15am at Preston City Oval. The Big V will be looking for an improved effort from last year's clash against the same team in Bendigo, recording just 1 goal on their way to a 49-point loss. For the latest information on the squad, please visit vafa.com.au. On Friday evening, HQ News reported the 4 VAFA umpires who had been selected to officiate the under-19 rep match this weekend, with 15-year-old field umpire Jackson Gillespie among those chosen. Gillespie debuted at William Buck Premier level over the weekend at the Old Melburnians and Old Zavarians game, after having spent previous seasons running the boundary. It's a fantastic achievement by Jackson, and we wish him all the other 3 umpires all the best this weekend. And that's it for headlines.
Good on you, Nick. Moving into Premier B, Brendan, there was an upset of sorts in Premier B as the Tigers lost their first game in 7.
I wouldn't call an upset of sorts. I call an upset and a boil-over with the Tonners 17-point winners over St Bees Mentone Tigers for their first loss at Brindisi Street for the year. They snapped a 7-game winning streak of St Bees Mentone Tigers, and the maestro, Alex Mastromano, starred with 4 goals, including this ripper left foot snap, which was as a contender for goal of the year, I think.
It is. He's got some pretty good handles there, the way he controls it around the boundary.
Luke Valuto was a standout for St Bees Mentone Tigers with 3 of their 14 goals as they fall back to second spot on the Premier B ladder, and as I said, their first loss at Brindisi Street for the year.
Yeah, it could be a telling loss, but I don't think it will be. I think there's still a big enough gap with Old Scotch. The Cardinals had a good win, though, over the Jackers on the weekend. Monash Blues will be disappointed to go down to Old Haileybury as they lost their spot on the 4, but that gave way for the Roys to move up with a big win over Hampton Rovers, and the Roys back in the 4, which is great to see. In Premier C, Nick, the Nodders had their first loss of the year.
They did at the hands of Caulfield Grammarians, who were down by 20 points at half-time, and they ended up running out 9-point winners. After an even first term, they were 19-19 all. The Nodders kicked 5 goals to 2 in the second quarter before Will Barker, who kicked 3 goals. Tim Nixon and Tom Green led the Fields to 7 goals in the second half, while restricting the Nodders to just 2 of their own. Kieran McKeough bagged 5 for the Nodders, and the Fields now move to within 1 game at the top of the ladder.
I see your pep talk for old Ivanhoe didn't work at all last week as they went down to Ormond at the Pine Lodge.
No, it didn't work at all. It was basically exactly the lines I was going along. They've lost a game they probably should have won, but in saying that, Williamstown couldn't quite get over Peninsula, so they still remain that 1 game clear in 4th.
Standout result, Brent, was probably Marsland, this huge win.
108-point win over the Wellers at Marsland College was fantastic. Phillip for them, and their 3 wins now, back-to-back wins, and they're in the fight to stay out of relegation zone.
I think they're well and truly in the fight. The other game, which is a disappointing result for Kew, was going down to Oakley, and Oakley also doing good things to try and avoid the drop there in Premier C. On to the division report. Brenton, take us through the highlights from the divisions.
We'll start at Division 1 with Old Paradians, as I said, off the top of the show, with a 71-point win over Therry Penola. That's 3 on the trot and 2 wins over the top 4 sides in the past fortnight for Old Parade. And they play 5 sides above them on the run home, above them on the ladder on the run home. So it's going to be tough for them to avoid relegation. But 4 out of that 6 is at Garvey Oval. So they may just, that's their try and make it a fortress in the final third of the year. Therry faced 3 out of the top 4 sides in the last 5 weeks, and 4 out of their 6 50-50 split home and away, and their away form has not been fantastic this year, so that's going to be important.
The fix is really telling at this time of year for all of the clubs, really, because those last 6 games after the byes, just to determine potentially how many home games you got when you really need those home games stockpiled.
Old Mantonians resumed their spot atop the Division 1 ladder with a win over St Mary's. Very disappointing for St Mary's. I thought they were really charging, but a loss to OMs.
Back to 5th now.
Yeah, back to 5th. They're out of the 4, so it shows how tight Div 1 is. You have a couple of losses and you're out of the 4, which is not fantastic. Pegs had a great win over the Friars. They were just outclassed from the outset, the Friars. After their win over St Mary's last week, I thought they were going to give them a real shake. They did give them a pretty good shake, but Pegs were just too classy, with Scurry, Young and Goulet combining for 16 majors for the Pegs. Div 2, number 1 contender for the crown to knock off the Jocks is West Brunswick in there with a win over Preston. And now Preston is an interesting case, Preston, because I rate Preston as one of the... I think they're a genuine chance to knock off the Jocks after they knocked them off the week prior. They face 1 side in the top 4 on the run home.
So they're going to keep racking up wins?
They certainly are going to keep racking up wins and just staying...
There's relegation to worry about, and that's the beautiful thing about the VAFA. You've got this situation where teams from below, you say, oh, you got an easy run home. You don't actually have an easy run home.
A sensational segue you've got there, because Eltham and Bulleen fought out an intriguing battle at Eltham College, with Eltham getting up against Bulleen. Now they're fighting to stay out of relegation as well, and they're 3-1 over the past 4 weeks. And Bulleen Temp, they want to just start kicking into gear in the final third of the year to avoid relegation. And just a little quick note, in Div 4, Westbourne Grammarians had their unbeaten streak tested by North Brunswick, but they still got over the line. Mount Lilydale had a fantastic win over Manningham Cobras, and that rounds out the division report.
Beautifully done, and that leaves plenty of time in the rest of the show to get into the 4 questions. And Brent, I'm going to go straight back to you. We talked about Premier C. Which of the 2 clubs now, with that Titan race to Marsland, is going to be relegated?
I think Marsland, with that win over the Wellers, they will avoid relegation. But I think it will be, unfortunately, Old Camberwell, and then I think Oakley as well.
Good to see you not sitting on the fence, unlike Willie B used to sit on the fence.
He loved it. He got a few splinters, didn't he?
He did.
Well, mine is also to you,
I'm
Brandon.
just getting bombarded here with the 4 cues. It's fantastic.
Double barrel. There's 3 teams, three standout teams at the moment in Division 2. Who makes the grand final?
I think St John's and Preston.
So you say West Brunswick miss?
Yes, I think it's been a fantastic year for West Brunswick, but I think they will miss, yes.
Very good.
Well, he's short and sharp.
Exactly right. Nick, could we see 3 uni derbies Sorry, I think that was going to be for me,
I think
wasn't
this
it?
is for you.
Rightio.
Not that they're pre-prepared.
I'll go to you with that. Could we see 3 uni derbies in the space of a month?
Yes, we could. I think we could see 3 Uni derbies in the space of a month. Uni Blues have 5 of their last 6 at home. They're currently on top of the ladder. As we know, the former Blacks, they're sitting in the top 2 spots. They play each other in round 18. That would mean they'd play each other in the second semi-final in the first week, and then arguably one will be in the grand final, the other one wins through. We're going to have 3 Uni derbies in the space of a month.
That was could. Will we see that?
No, I don't think so. I think we'll miss out on getting our first ever William Buck Premier grand final between the 2 university sides. That'd be great to see. Final one, Nick, for you. Could St Bernard's or Old Carey catch St Kevin's?
Yes. I think St Bernard's could.
St Bernard's could?
I think St Bernard's good. I think St Bernard's are playing decent footy. They're not getting blown out of the water. They've still got Tom Sullivan to come back too.
You're the times.
I don't think he's going to win a Woodrow.
You're pushing that barrow to the end, aren't you?
Yeah, I will push it all the way to first half of the year, Nat Fife-esque. But Simon Caven's back and he's playing really good footy as well.
And to give you some context, they've got Collegians away, which the way Collegians at the trot.
Very there.
Most clubs are struggling to beat them at the
Difficult,
trot.
yep.
OM's at home, which you'd like to think they'd win that one, but OM's are still trying to chase a final spot as well.
Absolutely.
And they'd be just wanting to bank another 4 points if they could. They then have Uni Blues at home, and the way Blues are travelling, that's a tough challenge. De La Salle away, who'd be trying to fight for a double chance spot as well, and also finals. Old Trinity away, similar position.
Yep.
And then St Bernard's in round 18 could be a potential relegation battle game.
It could be a potential
It's a
relegation
big question for
game.
Inter FM, which game they do in the last round. Do they do the Uni Derby, where they could be, both teams, it could be academic really, they could roll out their second sides, because they both could be a secured top 2
And
spots.
by all reports, they'll be meeting 2 weeks later in a second semi-final anyway.
Exactly right. We've hopefully answered some of the big questions. Good luck to the Vic under-19s, or the VAFA under-19s playing the country, as it's a big challenge, and Inter FM covering that one at all? No?
They're not. But it will be live tweeted from the VAFA HQ.
And I'm sure there'll be vision up online in the coming days after that game. Good to chat with you guys.
You too, Andrew.
Thanks, Andrew.
Enjoy your weekend off. We'll see you again next time on the Tragics.